Alright, we just polished up the top on the old Mousehouse cello, silver cello. We're getting ready to put the fingerboard on. Just thought we'd show you what we're doing with the fingerboard. Just spent an hour sizing it and getting the angle correct, flattening it out. Now we're removing some of the excess wood on the inside so it will sound better. You can actually tune these to a certain note, but mainly we want to remove a bunch of this excess wood that's just creating weight, which reduces the vibrations to a certain extent. So we're getting a little better profile. Now some of the makers would hollow this out all the way up and hollow the neck out as well, so you actually have an extra resonating chamber. But that weakens the neck, and I don't think it's a good idea as far as the amount of tone it's going to increase. So anyway, we'll get this smoothed out and get it with the scraper. There's a scraper. And once we get the excess wood removed, and we'll make sure it's nice and smooth before we glue it on. Pretty rough here. As you know, ebony is very hard wood, so that's why we got to use a hammer. If it was just maple, we could probably just carve it like that, but it's not very hard to carve. So we'll get it close with the chisel and even it out with the scraper. That was a good chunk there. I don't know if you can't probably see the end on that, but it's quite thick. So we'll thin that out a little bit, get it ready to go and glue it on, and we'll show you how that comes out. Alright, we've got the fingerboard dry clamped. Make sure all the clamps are set and ready to go. And notice there's a slight gap here on the edge. Remember, because it's perfectly flat and this is perfectly flat, you may have to pretty straight that way. There's a little bit of a bowl. Not much, almost, because it's sitting on the neck there. Yeah, nice and flat. And as you can see, we got the fingerboard carved out from here forward. There's a few little divots, not perfect, but reduces the weight, and it's tuned up. It's hard to hear, but yeah, sounds like an F. So before we glue this, we're gonna make sure there's a little bit of relief in the middle. the edges will sit flat. You see these X marks? That's original from the manufacturer. Back in the day, they thought that if they did that, it would hold better. Glue would go down in the grooves, but it doesn't really help at all. Going up close to the edge, but not right to the edge. So the edge will have good contact. Yeah, the other problem is this piece of ebony is not the greatest. I'd say it's B quality. Because it's splintery. And this cello had a bunch of black paint on the edge. Preparation is 9/10 of the game. That wasn't quite flat right there, so okay, that's good. Of course, we'll have to trim this off after we glue it, and as you can see, it's pretty rough right there. Might have to do a little filling. Anyway, since we got the clamps ready, it's not going to get much closer unless we remove a lot more wood, and we don't want to do that. First thing we do is wipe it down with a little warm water. Make sure we get all the sawdust out of there. Also allow for the glue to get sucked in there. See that black sawdust coming off. If you don't do this, your glue won't adhere properly. Okay, we got a marker there, how it goes. That glue should be ready. Don't need much, just enough to cover. Let's see if we're getting good. Oh yeah, good coverage. get some vacuum grip going in there. Might get a little tacky. I got a little glue on my fingers there. Don't want to glue the clamps to the fingerboard. See if it's nicely aligned. It looks like it is. In precise order is the smallest one first. Now, let's just slide down. Not quite tacky yet. Now some guys use big flat cauls to make sure it's perfectly flat, but if your ebony is nice and flat, which ours is, and the neck is pretty flat, then you can just glue it up with these type of clamps. Jorgensen adjustable clamps. Just slightly tight, just to secure it in place. Make sure it's still lined up. It tends to push it that way, so we're going to put it on the other side. You've got some good glue squeeze already. Tightening up the other clamps a little bit. And got a little grip there. Yeah, here we go. Clean up the excess glue. Got a pretty good overhang there. The gore's got to be slightly larger than the neck so you can shave it down. This came into the shop without a fingerboard, so I tracked down some good ebony and put this new one on. Okay, tight, tight, tight. Yeah, it's sucker's heavy when you get all these clamps on there. Just about perfect. I don't think you can do it any better than that. So we'll let her sit, dry overnight, and fit a nut. Thanks for watching. Alright, we got a number of things that's going on now. Got the fingerboard all trimmed up and ready to go. We fit a nut, but we do not have the grooves in there yet, which we will do by measuring out. See, let's see what 32 plus 6, 36. You want to start generally about 30 seconds, a couple millimeters from the edge. Usually I just do that by eye. Yeah, between 3 and 4. Okay, then the distance between these is 28. Divide by 3, 7. No, 3 times, it's 4, 8. 3 times 8 is 24. So 3 times 9 is 27. Sometimes it's difficult because the thicker string, you want to have the distance between the strings the same, but the G string is thinner. 9. So this one you want to get right in the middle of that flat spot. So to get a little bit more accurate, we'll start to mark it with a file. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it upside down. That's kind of confusing me. It's actually 30, so it'd be 10. 30 seconds in between. There's 10, there's 20. That should be just about right. But we're only going down just a tiny bit, because once you get the strings on, it's easier to see what the actual separation is. It's 10 to the center, but the thicker string is wider, so that one might need to be 9 right there, a little close to 10. Anyway, we'll finalize that once we get the strings on. Meanwhile, we'll have to fit some new pegs. To do that, we need a tapered reamer and shaper, exactly the same taper. These are both German made. And that one's pretty close to standard taper. This one looks like the old-fashioned taper. It's a little more steep. Same as that one. So we're going to have to ream that out till we get it smooth. Of course, they're all out of round too, because as the wood shrinks one direction more than the other because of the way the grain is. So we'll go forwards, then we'll go backwards a little bit. Smooth out any rough edges. Yeah, see, it's nice and clean there. You can see this one's dirty. So once they get all nice and clean, then we can fit new pegs. But that we want to get a matching set. But because they're old and large, we may have to use oversized pegs. Oh yeah, see, that's an oversized one. That's already going in further than we normally would want to put it, about a 1/2 inch or 3/4. Yeah, 5/8, that's good. Yeah, see, this is a little different size, a little smaller, a little different head too. So those are two things we'll be working on. It's pretty straightforward, fitting the pegs. And make sure they're yeah, this one's need the extra large. Extra large. Oh, that's too big. There's nothing in between. That's a little tricky too, because you can't be having that line in between. Yeah, just that little bit of shaving made it go in quite a bit further. Yeah, that actually is, it's going to be tricky. Anyway, yeah, see, these pegs are not, they're brand new, but they're probably a couple of years old. You get them so that they age, and then they go a little bit out of round. Yeah, you can feel that reamer jumping when you turn it. So we want to ream it out this minimal amount possible. You cleaned it up, but not completely. If you make the hole bigger, then you're going to have a problem with the pegs. Get even larger pegs. See, that was chattering. Here's an old trick. You put some water on it so it'll turn a little smoother. Yeah, that's pretty close now, those two. Yeah, about a ½ inch, 5/8. So that's, and then of course you got to trim them off here and drill holes. So we'll be doing that off camera. Meanwhile, a couple other things we're doing before we can string it up. We got to put the saddle in here. Just soaking it to make sure we get all the glue off. Make sure it's nice and flat. Yeah. Oh, we got a little piece of purfling missing there too. Okay, that's pretty well cleaned up. Clean off your chisel. That glue is sticky. Now I got our old saddles here. See if we had one that actually came off of this. Not too short, too wide. Yeah, that one's a little bit long, so that did not come off of here. Not thick enough. Oh, that might be the one there, I don't know. Fits pretty well. It's a little below there, though it's not quite thick enough. Yeah, this could be the one right there that came off of there. If not, it's close enough to the right dimension, so we'll probably glue that in after we clean it up. Oh yeah, see that silver paint. Yeah, this is probably the one because that had silver paint on it. Okay. And then we're going to have to make a sound post. There was no sound post in there. We got a lot of them. If you don't have an old one, then we make a new one. Which we make right here, by the way. Out of old wood. And then the other problem we've got is this varnish. It was too red, so I took the red off. And we're going to have to make a color to match that. It's got too much yellow. We'll get some aramine yellow. We will this is poisonous, so you gotta be careful. Don't inhale any of it or get it all over. Yeah. So we'll get a little mixing container. two spots, this spot and this spot. You don't need very much, just a little dab. That dissolves in alcohol. Yeah, of course that's too much yellow. And we'll add a little brown to it, brown varnish. And it should be just right. Oh yeah, that's much closer to what we want. Of course, normally you use a brush, just put a little on here, see how it looks. Yeah, I think that'll work. So, clean that up. Set this back on there. Put a little more varnish on there. Make a soundpost. And the old Mousehouse cello will be ready to play. Oh yeah, we got to make a bridge too. It's a blank. So we'll show you how she comes out. Okay, this is our technique for gluing on the saddle. Not a very strong rubber band, but enough to pull that forward while it's also pressing down. Just in case, we got to make sure it's a good fit, which it is. And we set in that little piece of purfling that was missing. Yeah, we'll have to trim that off. Surprisingly strong. And we had an old piece that was just the right width. I'll go right down to the top, so it's nice and flush. That's a little piece hanging up there. Okay, there we go. And we'll put some color varnish on it while we do the other side. The old silver Mousehouse cello. We still got a bunch of that silver paint we got to get rid of. It's kind of embedded in these nicks. You're going to have to dig that out. It's going to take a while though. So I'm kind of anxious to get it strung up so we can see what a nice tone it's got. get all the silver paint off later. It was mostly on the bottom ribs, which is good. See some more here. Plus we shortened the ribs. You can see this is not round anymore because these were sticking out past the edge, so we had to, when I had it off, we had shortened these. That was in another video. Anyway, I believe this is the end pin that came with it. It's a pretty small one, rosewood. And we want to make sure this reamer is going to be small enough. Yeah, 645. Yeah. 7. 6.9. So that should work. Cut off the excess. So all we're doing is cutting the rib part away that's overhanging. You don't want to remove any of the. Make sure we're going straight here. Look from both directions. Yep, nice and straight. Carefully, a little bit at a time. There, now you can see we haven't done anything to the end block that's in there. Just a little bit removed from the edges. That one's pretty close. Oh yeah, getting pretty close here. Make sure this is the same taper. Yep, it is. So a couple more twists ought to do it. You can feel when it's snug. You know, when you go backwards, the taper seems to be fitting pretty well now. Going backwards smooths it out, gets rid of any high spots or divots. Now you can see the end block is still pretty much untouched. Oh yeah, it's pretty close now. We might go over that with the shaper. Yeah, we have a custom made shaper just for end pins. Oh, it's too big though. Yeah, it looks like this was glued in. Yeah, still some junk in there. Yeah, some of that end pin got glued in place. Probably little parts of the end block in there. Get rid of that glue and it'll probably be just about right. Okay, we'll work on fine-tuning that off camera. So we want to probably hit that with a file. Get the high spots. Gotta do that carefully though. Yeah, I see still some glue there. We'll get rid of that. You don't want to put it out of round. Keep that same taper. Yeah, pretty close. Alright, meanwhile, we've got the for the sound post. One way to check and see how big a sound post you need is you stick a pencil down through there. So that'll give you the approximation. It's actually the sound post goes a little further in, so it could be a little longer. And because you're marking at the top of the top, that is a little longer. So we got our bag of old sound posts and new sound posts. We'll find one that's a new one. I think we picked out one that we think might be close. It might be a little too long. It's got some rubber on it. And that could take a half hour to an hour to fit that properly. Put a light on the inside so you can see what's going on. We'll get one that's a little bit shorter. See if that's the right size. Just to give you an idea. Well, that one might be a little too thick. Won't go through the apple. Well, that's going to take a while to figure that out. But you get the idea. So we're going to fit the sound post. We got the pegs fit. Yeah, so once we got them fit, which took a while, now we're going to mark them where they need to be cut off and trimmed. Just hold your pencil there and spin the peg around. And we got to mark where the hole is to be drilled. We'll mark it right at the center. But in practice, we will actually drill the hole slightly this way towards the peg head, because as it turns over and ages, it keeps going in further, and you don't want the hole to get in the wall there. The old hole in the wall game. It's especially important with the last one here, the D. So we'll trim these guys off, fit the sound post, fit the bridge, then we'll be able to string it up and see what it sounds like. Getting close, but of course the finish work is going to take much longer. Thanks for watching. Yeah, another thing about pegs. Now we got them trimmed up and the holes drilled. Like to make sure the ends are nice and smooth and sealed off. If you have carpet here, that facilitates getting a nice round, even sanding. 220 sandpaper is fine enough for hardwood like ebony. Yeah, nice and smooth. Yeah, I think I did that one already. Yeah. Some guys like to make them perfectly flat. That's too hard to really get that exactly accurate though. And rounded, semi-rounded looks fine, works fine. It looks good too. There goes my arm. Okay. Now we usually buff these as well. They're nice and shiny on the end. And you also want to take a fine file. When you drill these, we drill from both sides to make sure it's nice and smooth on the inside. You want to make sure there's no real sharp edges right there where the string goes out. You can actually cut the string. And this also makes it easier to insert the string. Then we'll apply some French polish. As you can see where it's bare wood from the shaver. Some of it's shiny, some of it's bare. You want to make sure it's all the same, as well as being sealed up against the humidity. This will also make it buff easier. But if you don't seal these, the humidity, the great bane of wooden instruments, will make your pegs swell up while they're in the peg head. They'll be so tight you won't be able to get them out. So it's always a good idea to seal these up. Doesn't take much, just a light coat of French polish, which is basically super thin varnish. So thin it dries to the touch in minutes. Okay, and you'll also notice that the holes are drilled on the side where the peg head is flat. You don't want to drill them for this angle because the way the grain is cut, they cut them so the grain is stronger this way, so the peg heads don't break off. So then you wonder, well, how do you know which peg is which? They're all mixed up. It's actually quite easy. Take your straight edge. There's my straight edge. And of course the longest one will be at this end, because that's the widest point. Yeah, let's see. Probably didn't get to see much of that other stuff I was doing. There you have it. There's your pegs in order. So what I was doing earlier, in case you missed it, was filing that and demonstrating the hole is on the flat side, not the skinny side. So they're all French polished. We'll take them and buff them up. But just to demonstrate, longest to shortest. Once you go there, oops, sometimes they're pretty close. Whoop. Almost the same, yep. Once you go there, that's once you go there. There you go. Coming out just a little bit past the hole, which is how I like it. So we'll get those buffed and we'll apply some peg compound. Turn them a little bit and you can see where it's shiny. When they're new pegs like that, they need quite a bit of peg soap, peg compound, peg dope, whatever you want to call it. This is actually soap. Yeah, you can see that one's tight. Hear it creaking. We don't want creaking though. I want it to turn nice and smoothly. There you go, nice and smooth. Yeah, look at that. There's some gold paint too, I just noticed. So this was a silver and gold cello. Yeah, check us out for the next installment where we get this bad boy strung up. The old silver Mousehouse cello. Alright, we just finished making the bridge, Belgian style, for the silver Mousehouse cello. We've been working on for a year. Got the nut spaced properly after we get the strings on, pegs fit. And a new tailpiece, Glasser Manufacturing, New York. So we're just about to tune it up for the first time. Had to fix the end pin too, make that a little longer. Nice helicore strings, and as we were stringing it up, we noticed there was an open seam there. We had to take care of that. Turn it around here. Make sure the bridge is straight. And in the proper position. Centered on the fingerboard and in between the F-hole notches. Pre-stretch the strings a little bit. Let's get our reference A again. And we still have a little finish work to do on the mouse holes and the back rib where you see still some silver left here too. But we got her strung up so we can see what it sounds like. Oh, big sound. It's going to sound great once it's played in a little while. Check the string length, see if it's proper. Should be right around 27 inches, which it is just right. So there you have it. Mr. Mousehouse is just about ready to go. And we'll put it up for sale on our website. Thanks for watching all the way to the end.